The teacher thought he was just another struggling student until she discovered why a 38-year-old construction worker was sitting in her classroom every single night. And when she finally learned the truth, she called him the best student she had ever taught. Every evening, a small night school filled with students. Most of them were in their early 20s. Some wanted better jobs. Some wanted college degrees. Some were simply trying to build a better future. But among all of them, one student always stood out. He was 38 years old. While everyone else looked young and energetic, he looked tired, exhausted. His clothes were always covered in dust. His hands were rough from years of hard work. Yet every night, he showed up to class without fail. His name was David. During the day, he worked at a construction site. The work was physically demanding. By the time he arrived at class each evening, his body was already exhausted, but despite that, he never missed a lesson. The teacher often noticed him struggling. While other students finished assignments quickly, David needed more time. While others understood concepts easily, he had to work twice as hard. But he never complained, and he never gave up. One evening, after class ended, the teacher saw David sitting alone outside the building. He was smiling while talking to someone on a video call. Curious, she walked closer. On the screen was a little girl about 10 years old. She was excitedly showing him a school certificate. The teacher overheard her say, "Dad, I came first in my class again." David's face lit up with pride. "I'm proud of you," he replied. Then the little girl smiled and asked, "Dad, when will you finish school too?" David laughed softly. "Soon. And when I do, I'll make you proud too." The next day, she asked him, "David, why are you working this hard? Why come to school after spending all day on a construction site?" David smiled. Then he replied, "Because my daughter is excellent at her studies, and I don't want anything to interrupt her education. A construction job pays very little, far too little, to cover my daughter's schooling. That is why I want to complete my own education and secure a good job, so that by earning more money, I can secure my daughter's future." The teacher said nothing, but from that day on, she began paying more attention to his studies than to those of any other student in the class. Months passed. David worked harder than anyone, not because he wanted to be the smartest, not because he wanted recognition, but because every time he felt tired, he remembered his daughter. Finally, graduation day arrived. Students eagerly waited for their results. The teacher stepped onto the stage and began announcing names, one by one. Students collected their certificates. Then she smiled and called David's name, David. Slowly walked to the front. The teacher handed him his certificate. "Congratulations. You passed with distinction." For a moment, David simply stared at the paper, and suddenly, his eyes filled with tears. The teacher gently asked, "Why are you crying?" David looked at her and smiled. Then he said, "Because now, my daughter won't have to live the life I lived." The room fell silent. Even the teacher couldn't hold back her tears. She looked at David and said, "I've taught hundreds of students, but none inspired me the way you did." Then she smiled and added, "You are the best student I have ever taught. Some people earn a degree to change their career. Others earn it to change a life. And sometimes, the strongest students aren't the ones who learn the fastest. They're the ones who refuse to quit."